Thank you. Thank you, Mark. Yes, it's all true. QWE3R. Take my word for it. All right. Hi, everybody. Like Mark said, I am Travis, and I am here to do something a little bit different this year, a little live demonstration of a game called Backdoors and Breaches. But I've done a couple of long con talks already. I decided to do something a little bit different, and we're going to start off with something a little bit weird. So who here thinks they have really good lung capacity? Who's proud of their lungs? Anybody? This guy right in the front. Convenient. Here you go. Get blowing. Someone get out their phone and time them. So while he's blowing hot air, we'll do a quick straw poll. Show of hands. Who here regularly does tabletop sessions at their place of work? 1, 2, 3. Yeah, four. Nay, that's actually above what I was expecting. I'm not going to lie. So those who aren't familiar, a tabletop session. Let me just grab my flashcards here because I probably forgot what it's called. Yep. Boom. Okay. Tabletop session. It can be an informal or semi-formal exercise or discussion for a security or security-related team. Basically walking through, the incident response process, sort of a fictional scenario, trying out their program, making sure it all makes sense. It's kind of a double valve thing. You'll figure it out. You're supposed to test your lungs, not your aptitude. Or scenario to test out the incident response capabilities and try to find any shortcomings in their incident response plans or their program. Because generally speaking, the first time you ask yourself, what would you do in an emergency, shouldn't be in the middle of an emergency, right? You want to generally think about that sort of thing beforehand. So, we only had about 3 or 4 hands. If tabletop exercises are so valuable, why don't more people do them? Well, I'll tell you why you didn't put your hands up. It's because doing tabletop exercises are a pain in the ass. They're boring, they're hard to put on, they're time consuming, it's hard to get buy-in from leadership. Convincing your CEO or CTO to give up 4 hours of their day to run through an exercise that is boring and of dubious value, it's a tough sell, is the reality, right? And because putting on a tabletop exercise that actually drives value for your organization is, not bad. Did somebody time him? What did he get? 1 minute, 40 seconds. Not bad, not bad. You got there in the end, that's what counts. They're a pain in the ass, and it's hard to put on ones that actually have value, right? So you end up in this vicious cycle of, you don't have the skills to put one on, so you don't put them on, so you never acquire the skills to put one on. Great. How do we break out of this cycle? Well, enter Backdoors and Breaches. Backdoors and Breaches is a card game created by our friends at Black Hills Information Security that basically gives us kind of like a semi-structured way of putting on a tabletop exercise that's fun, that's easy, that's engaging, and it keeps things moving, right? And it helps you derive value without necessarily needing to put in a whole ton of work, driving your entire scenario from scratch, okay? Another quick show of hands. Does anybody here DM like D&D games or GURPS or anything like that? We got 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, GREPS, whatever. So I don't play them, so I'll take your word for it. But yeah, so you guys who've done DMs or GM games, you already have the skills necessary to do this. You guys are already pros. Interestingly, it was about the same number of hands that we had people who actually did tabletop exercises, so I don't know if there's a correlation there or not. But anyway, Backdoors and Breaches, pseudo kind of card game, role-playing game made by Black Hills Information Security. You can actually you can see play, it's tiny of course, play.backdoorsandbreaches.com. This is freely available, released into GPL, so you can make your own cards and do whatever you want to do, right? They have a bunch of different decks, core deck, bunch of expansions. They have ones for like cloud security. They have ones for various vendors. They have Datadog, Red Canary. So you can kind of tailor your experience appropriate to your organization. So today I'm actually going to run us through one of these particular sessions. Just kind of show you, how it goes, how you can, put this on and take these skills back to your organization and start doing tabletops on the regular. So for this tab here, this is just kind of an example scenario. This is the one we're actually going to do. But I'm just going to kind of run through the rules real quick. So at the top here, you have your 4 your 4 scenario cards, right? And so your role as the fictional, long con incorporated response team, incident response team, your goal is to reveal these 4 cards, to flip them over, right? And so we have your initial compromise, your pivot and escalate, C2 and exfil, and your persistence, right? So just like a regular incident, you're trying to figure out how the bad guys got in, what they did there, and how they're trying to, establish persistence, right? Anything like recovery and stuff like that is just kind of like out of scope of this particular incident. So for example, click on it, boom, and then it will embiggen. So our initial compromise in this particular situation might be phishing, right? Classic sort of situation. Somebody clicked on a link, somebody important, maybe with a little too many credentials, and they got phished. Pretty classic, right? So how do you, I'll scroll down a little bit, how do you flip over these cards? Good question. Well, that's where this next set of cards come into play, these blue cards. These are your detections, or sometimes called your procedure cards. And these are kind of randomized slightly from scenario to scenario. But across the top here, you have your UEBA, user and entity behavior analytics, endpoint analysis, server analysis, memory analysis, pardon me, crisis management, active defense and cyber deception, network threat hunting, endpoint security protection analysis, permissions audit, cloud event log analysis, isolation, that one's really hard to read. This is your SIM log analysis and your firewall log analysis. So every turn, so to speak, and you have up to 10 turns, you, the security team, will discuss amongst yourselves by yelling over each other typically, what it is you would actually do in that particular situation, right? So I say, well, what are you going to do in this situation? I said, well, maybe I'd go look at the logs on the server, or I'd check our firewall, right? Whatever activity you can think of that you'd probably do, there's probably a card that would kind of map onto that, right? And so we'll choose a card, and then at that point, we roll the giant D20. On an 11 to 20, you succeed. On a 1 to 10, you fail. Now, just because you rolled an 11 or better doesn't necessarily mean you win or make progress, right? Because if you succeed and one of these cards matches one of these detections on here, I, as your incident captain or incident manager or whatever, will choose to reveal one of these scenario cards, right? So if you chose server analysis and you rolled an 11 or better, I might flip over the phishing card, for example. So you might be wondering what's with these, why are these 4 here bigger? What are they doing on the top there? Well, these are your established detections or your established procedures. These are procedures or detections where you or your organization, they do a particularly good job at. They do like you've received training, or you have a documented process, or you paid $1 million to security vendor AI thing to make the problem go away, right? You have the latest and greatest black box of security. So if you choose one of these items, you get a +3 to your roll. And all of this is customizable. So if you know that your organization is particularly good at endpoint security protection analysis, you can rearrange this so that's up there, so it kind of reflects the reality, so to speak, more. That is the general gist. There are a few more mechanics and rules. I'll talk about those, bring those up, if and when they ever come up. So this will be our scenario, and without further ado, I will maximize it so we can make maximum use of our screen here, and allow me to set the stage. You, the 50 or so largest incident response team in all of Canada here, let's be honest, comes in on a Tuesday morning, and your web team reports that your website isn't operating quite correctly. So one of them RDPs into the SQL server. They're getting some SQL message errors, and lo and behold, what do they spot on the desktop? A ransom note. What do you do? Shut it out. Let's hear it. If you don't shout something out, you don't get to roll the D20. So, isolated pice bombs. Shotgun is not a card. Maybe it's isolate. I don't know. Can I get a beer, please? Pay the ransom. So, this is actually really good. Yeah, right. This is a really good example. So you can actually pause here And you can start asking questions and have a discussion, right? Does your organization have a policy around paying ransoms? Yes or no? Doesn't really map to a card here, but it's definitely something that can come up and a really good question to ask. I'm getting kind of isolation. A lot of people are saying isolation. So the consensus here. The first thing you guys would do was to isolate the SQL server with a ransom node on it. Yes, yes, yeah, okay. All right, so isolation is actually one of the special cards in that it won't flip over one of the other cards. It won't help you discover what happened. However, if you succeed, you do get 2 additional turns. So it can still be valuable, particularly in this case, because it's one of your established detections, right? So you get a bonus to your roll. So who wants to roll the giant D20? Who feels lucky? Not any takers. No pressure. Come on up then. Roll the die. Roll the die of destiny. There you go. No pressure. Pretty much. Or do. It's more entertaining. Boom, 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 boom. Oh, 17! Yay! Congratulations. Good job. I'm going to add 2 turns. Boom, boom. All right. Boom, boom, boom. So these trackers here, every card has a 3-turn cooldown, so you can't just spam the same card over and over even if you fail. But isolation is a special card, along with crisis management, same story. You can only use it once. Crisis management will also give you 2 extra turns. However, before you can play crisis management, everybody has to agree that this is a crisis. There's one caveat there. So, good work. You've isolated the SQL server. How did you guys know that that was the only one on your network that was compromised? Oh, somebody says firewall rules. Does anybody else have any other suggestions? What do you check next? Endpoint security. What? Anything else? What do people? SIM logs. Anybody? Any other suggestions? Let's see a consensus here. What do you people think? Server logs, SIM logs, firewall logs. There's a lot of different logs. 3 opinions. No consensus. Fight it out. Come on. Paranoia. Not a card, but I mean, that's how you know you work in security. All right. So let's do quick show of hands. Firewall logs. No one takes firewall logs. Okay, one person take firewall logs. Server logs. Okay, server log. What was the other one? I don't even remember now. SIM. Who said SIM? Oh, it's pretty close. We're gonna say server logs. Server logs. Which one is that? I think it's server. We'll say that counts as server analysis. Okay. Also, cool thing about these cards, tells you about some of the tools that you could possibly use to do this with. So, server analysis. Who wants to roll the die of destiny? Come on, Rod, do it. Woo! Whoa, 18, that counts. All right, good job. Does that actually reveal anything? Yes. Congratulations, first of all. Analysis, and boom. Turns out, the point of initial compromise was a compromised web server. Somebody let Mo Godot do some vibe coding, and your web application got compromised, to nobody's surprise. So, good job. We have revealed the first card. All right, what do we do next? We still need to figure out, we still need to figure out how they pivoted, what they're using for C2, and also how they're trying to establish persistence. What do we do next, guys? What would you do next in the real world? Forget the cards for a second. You're in this situation, what would you actually do? SIM logs. I hear another vote for SIM logs. Anyone else? Start checking backups, yeah. So good point. So in this scenario, pardon me, just like in D&D, talking is a free action. You guys want to ask me any clarifying questions, I'm happy to do that. But generally, if it would be some information that you would have to perform one of these procedures to obtain, I'll make you take a turn. But in this case, we're checking the backups. Your backup team is on that. They're investigating that. They're checking to see if the backups are good. That's outside of our wheelhouse in this context. Looking for other servers. Interesting. Interesting. I don't know if there's a card for that one. That's a good thought, but that's good. What permissions audit? We have permissions audit, SIM. Anybody other suggestions? Check the source. What do you mean by the source? Do you mean like credential access? Like you mean like the source, like where the traffic's coming from? Yeah, so it's firewall, SIM. Anybody, any other sessions? This here one for SIM analysis. Any votes? A couple of votes for SIM. Votes for firewall analysis? I think it's going to be SIM analysis this time. All right. So next up, SIM analysis. Who wants to roll the die for SIM analysis? You get a +3 on this one as well. Any takers? Rolling the giant D20 is way more fun than it looks, I promise. Come on, Mark. There you go. I believe in you. Oh, 19. Hey, you guys, yeah. On a roll. Remove a turn. SIM log analysis. Well, SIM log analysis will reveal that, boom, the method of, that was actually the wrong fucking card. Whoops. Oh, wait, we'll see it was this card anyway. I gotta roll with it. The method of pivoting and escalation was actually LMNR poisoning. What a coincidence that we learned about that this weekend. Yeah, good job. So you check your SIM, you discover somehow that LMNR poisoning was going on, and that's how they were able to pivot onto these particular servers from your web server to your SQL server. So now we'll move these around here. SIM 2, and there we go. Cool. Take away turn. And cool. You guys are on a roll. 2 cards, 9 turns left. You're killing it. All right. You've discovered, using SIM analysis, that you use broadcast multicast protocol poisoning. What do you do next in this situation? What's that? Network threat hunting. Ooh, that's a good choice. Any other suggestions here? Oh. Do you want me to go through them real quick again? Ooh. I don't know. You tell me, incident response team. Have you talked to the stakeholders yet? I mean, so in this scenario here, the web team are the ones who discovered the compromise, and they've already alerted you and talked to you, right? So, stopping and asking, hey, what does our response process say? Whom should we be alerting at this point? Who should be involved, right? So that's a question that in a real organization, you'd probably have to check. Say, hey, have we already informed all of the appropriate people in this situation? Not really a card for that, but it's definitely a good thing to bring up in such a scenario. You tell me. Is this a crisis? It's an event. Yes, that's an important distinction, isn't it? Yeah. What's that? Yeah, it's the server is the SQL server that backs your main company website, so to speak. So the website is up in a kind of a broken state, right? It's partially up. Some things are working and some things aren't. So the initial access, the initial point of compromise was through the compromised web server, the broken AI-coded app, as it were. Well, you already did isolation, so you could argue that that's already been done through the isolation, if you like. So good job isolating. All right, do we have any suggestions? So we had network threat hunting was, I think, a suggestion. Does everybody like that idea? Yeah? Yeah? All right, let's do it. Who wants to roll the giant die? Any takers? Come on. Bevan? Yeah, do it. Oh, sorry, Jared. Boom, 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 boom. Oh, a 7. So close. We needed an 8 or better to succeed at network threat hunting. But that's okay. What's that? You're paying for an MSP? Yeah. Can I get some water when somebody gets a chance? Yeah, so we rolled a 7. We needed an 8 or better because it was an established procedure. But this is actually a good thing. I mean, from my perspective, this is actually a good thing. Because this is when we pause for a second and we ask a question. Can anybody think of any financial, political, technological, or personnel-wise reasons we would have failed at network threat hunting? Let's hear some ideas. Yes? Oh, no one trained us on the tool that we bought. That's a good one. Any other suggestions? Logs were deleted. That's good suggestions. Anyone else? Yeah, we'll figure it out. Yeah, dream on. What's that? It's the day after. Thank you, my dude. Relevant. Thank you. Yeah, so these are all really good suggestions. So if you're running this scenario, you get people to brainstorm some of these reasons, some of these suggestions, why this failed, right? And these become your findings from running this event, right? Now it is important to establish with your team when you're doing this, and they're shouting out these findings, at the end of the session, at the end of the game, you're going to choose exactly one of these findings to fix. I mean, use some common sense. If you do 2 or 3, you should do 2 or 3. But you want to establish that you're only probably going to do 1. Because the last thing you want is you don't want people to be afraid to shout out ideas, thinking that every idea they shout out means more work for them, right? You want them to shout out any idea so you can identify the best, most valuable one so you can actually fix that, right? Anyway, let's adjust my tokens. Okay, good effort, but no dice, quite literally. All right, what do we do next? We tried to do network threat hunting, but for whatever reason, we were not successful. Let's hear some other ideas. What would you guys do in this situation? Endpoint security. Permission. You don't use Active Directory, do you? Yeah. I got permissions audit. I don't even remember what you said. What was you said? Endpoint. Permissions, endpoint. Let's hear for permissions. We got 3 permissions. What did you say now? I can't even remember. Endpoint and permissions. Here for endpoint. We got a little few more for endpoints. We're going to say endpoint. Okay, endpoint security protection analysis. Somebody is checking their CrowdStrike logs. All right, who is next? Jared, I think you were up next. Come here. Yes, you can do it. Drum roll, please. Yeah, right. I don't know. I can't see it. It's on the freaking screen. 13. Woo! Good job, Jared. Good job. Endpoint security protection. Whoa. Well, congratulations. You checked your CrowdStrike logs and they were actually useful for a change, and you discovered that the method of persistence you have was dynamic link library hijacking, right? Somebody is managing to evade your antivirus and establish persistence by taking control of a DLL. So one thing you can typically do in these scenarios is whenever you flip over one of these cards, you reveal it, DLL hijacking, you ask your team, does anybody know what DLL hijacking is? And if somebody says yes, they put up their hand, you get them to explain it. Right? This gives an opportunity to share knowledge and learning and build on it from there. So, all right, so that was, shuffle them back. Server analysis is now available again. You guys are killing it here. You're having no problems at all. I should expect nothing less from such a skilled security team. Okay, cool. What do you guys do next? What's next on our incident response plan, so to speak? We had permissions audit, was a suggestion previously. Anybody else have any other ideas what they would be inclined to do? Firewall logs. Sell our company stock. Polish up your resume. You know, the usual kind of snarky responses, let's be honest. Anybody else? We got permissions audit, I think is kind of the only one out there. Everybody good with permissions audit? You like that one? All right, let's go with it. Permissions audit. Who wants to roll the giant die? Any takers? I should toss it out into the audience. Whomever it hits has to roll the die. How about that? No, we got this guy wants to do it. Here we go. You break it, you bought it. Yeah, don't break the die either, please. He literally broke the die, but he rolled a 19, so that's not bad. Good job. Good job. Which one is left? C2. And what did we just do? My brain is fog at this point. That was permissions. Thank you. Good job. You checked the permissions audit, but everything actually looks good. So you succeeded at auditing your permissions, but you didn't find anything useful for this particular incident. Good effort. Yeah, oops, sorry. It's the way it should go sometimes. Yeah, there's a metaphor for life in there. Okay. You check the permissions, they all look good. We're still trying to figure out, let me scroll up a little bit. Still trying to figure out C2 and exfil. What do you guys do in this situation? What do you check next? We got, yeah, someone else is available. We got firewall. Got any other suggestions? No. Firewall? Firewall it is. Okay. Who wants to roll the gigantic die? Where the fuck is firewall? There we go, thank you. Yes. Oh, we got a volunteer. For this one, this is an established. Is this an established? No, it's not. So you need an 11 or better, and boom, 18. Wow. That's pretty cool, eh? So good job. We discovered that they were using DNS as C2 and exfil because, as we know, it's always DNS. Yes, exactly, right? And DNS is a particularly hard one to block. I know of at least 2 experts in this room alone who could tell you all about the difficulties of blocking DNS tunnels and DNS traffic. So good job. You guys won with like lots of terms remaining, so that's excellent. So yeah, give yourselves a round of applause. Good job. Good job. So now you typically come to the end of the incident. There's usually a few things to wrap up. There's actually a few mechanics we missed too that I'll go over real quick. So typically, you guys did really well, but if you roll a 20 or a 1, you trigger what something's called, like, say, where is it? An inject card. These are basically, oh geez, that's tiny. Here we go. These are basically random things that can happen during an incident. Just throw a bit of chaos in there and keep things going, right? So for example, there's no policy, right? So I would remove a detection card. I'd make it unavailable for the remainder of the game, so to speak, which can really make things a lot harder depending on which card it is. All right. There's other ones in here, like there's another one for like, this one gives you a +2 modifier, so they're not all bad. And also if you roll 3 fails in a row, we also draw an inject card. So it can be useful if a team is kind of on the verge of not being able to make it. Some of these cards can really make a difference, right? And of course, as your DM or GM or whatever, you have a lot of latitude for, including your own kind of inject card, just kind of rolling with it. So for example, in one particular incident, we were doing a hybrid, or collaborative rather, between the security team and the IT team. And for an inject, I basically said, okay, inject, well, the cyber team has a scheduled team building exercise, and they are all gone for lunch. And they can't talk for 3 turns. IT team, what do you do, right? So this is also really useful if, for example, you have somebody in the group who's kind of dominating conversation, right? And they're kind of leading it a little bit too much. You want to get other people involved. You say, hey, you, senior security lead, your wife just went into labor. You're out of the game for 5 turns, right? Can't talk, right? Yeah, that's really effective at just kind of, keeping things interesting and, kind of massaging the game for kind of maximum value, so to speak. The other thing is, like, so when you finish the incident, whether you've won or you've lost, you would typically go around the room. I won't because this room is huge. But you typically go around the room and you have everybody give a 1-word answer. Like, is this a realistic scenario? Yes, no, or maybe. And you go around the room once, you get that answer, and then you go around the room again. And everybody who said, particularly if they said no, or especially if they said maybe, they need to justify that, right? And then you can talk that through. And then you can decide, for example, on which of your findings, at the end of the day, you will take and try to kind of resolve, cut your tickets in Jira or whatever it is you unfortunately use for work management. All right, so that's kind of the gist of it. Did I miss anything, Mike? No? Okay, well, I'm happy to answer any questions, or we can, anybody else wants to roll the giant die, they're welcome to do so. All right, I've got
any
a question.
Questions?
For a move they can make? I don't know. Yeah. Somebody asked me if we could sell our company's stock recently. That was pretty deranged.
Anything else for Travis?
Yes.
Yes.
Rob. Every single day, Rob. I don't know. That's a good question. It's going to depend a lot on your company, right? Like for some people, doing it, monthly might be appropriate, bi-monthly, annually. Like this obviously won't replace like a proper, big consultant-led, compliance-regulated tabletop exercise if you need to do one of those for your contractual reasons, sort of thing. But just when it comes to like exercising your team's incident response capabilities, do it as often as makes sense for you, right? Like probably every couple of months, I'd say is probably good for most teams and most people. 4, 5, 6 months, whatever. So. And not take it, what? I missed the last part.
How do you?
Not think it's lame? Well, the giant D20 helps.
That does lend an air of credibility to it.
Yes, exactly.
The
You know
inflatable
I'm
D20.
serious. I'm a professional. I have a giant D20 inflatable. Mm-hmm. That's a really good question. That is definitely a weakness of this game. This game is very technically focused, right? There's no really any opportunity to get, say, your legal team involved, or your compliance team, or your comms team, right? I did look into trying to kind of create my own expansion to it, to kind of include those people, but that's kind of, easier said than done, right? You have to kind of change the whole mechanics of the game. And you may notice, sorry, go ahead, Mark. Oh, I was just going to point out, like, a lot of these cards kind of seem like they have a bit of overlap to them. That's just kind of the way it goes, right? Just kind of use your imagination a little bit. Yeah, like endpoint analysis and server analysis. There's a lot of overlap there.
You touched on expansions.
Yes.
Are there any, and are there some coming? Like, is that something that BHIS is working on? Do you know?
I believe so. Like, I've noticed that they updated it.
Because I could see the executive side being an expansion for sure. Okay, here you go.
Yeah, they have a bunch of different decks. Cloud Security, Datadog, Huntress, Trimark. No, not really any like executive related, unfortunately. But they have been updating it. Like they actually changed the core deck since the last time I did this. So I actually had to kind of adjust some of my stuff to adapt. But yeah, so they're constantly updating ones. The Datadog one I know is relatively new, for example. So they're adding stuff, and some of these are sponsored. Like the reason they have vendor related ones is because Datadog, decided to make one for them. So that sort of thing.
Any other questions? Yeah.
Oh, you've done this before? Cool. Yeah. So it's not just about what tool would you use, but like how would you use it, right? So you can kind of have like a knowledge sharing moment for your team. That's a great idea. Yeah, that's really good. And I think I've neglected to point this out, but the cards also include some of the popular tools to use for these detections and techniques, which can be very enlightening. So I didn't even know a lot of these things existed until I started playing this game. Anybody else?
Anything else?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What do you mean by the worst possible option? Mm-hmm. Right, to get the extra terms. Yeah, so that actually touches on something really important. When you're putting one of these games on, people want to win, right? It's a game; they want to win, right? And it can kind of lead to a bit of like metagaming, right, where they're trying to choose the optimal card rather than the card that actually makes sense. So it does become kind of there's a bit of a balancing act there. A little bit of that is fine, but as the the game or incident captain or whatever, it's kind of incumbent on you to kind of like to try to draw it back, say, hey, let's talk about what we would actually do in that situation. And I kind of did that initially when someone said, let's do isolation. It's like, how would you know that that's the only server that's actually been isolated, that's actually been affected, right? Like, no disrespect, but that's, yeah, as an example. Yeah, the column A or the column B, right? You want people to have fun, so they want to do this more, but at the same time, you also want to drive discussion, right, and get actual value out of it, right? So, yeah, that's part of the skill that comes from it for sure. Anyone else?
Thank you, Travis.
Oh, thank you, Mark.
Awesome.